Hello again, off and running, everybody, on this Wednesday edition of Gulfstream Today. Keisha Courtney, Jason Blewett, good to have you with us. Sun is out, clear skies, and probably, I know I've gotten a little soft here in South Florida, but the coldest 65 degrees, as I tweeted, that I've ever felt in my life.
Well, I just came from a snowstorm up in Connecticut over the last couple of days, so not going to complain about that, but it is a little bit on the cooler side for sure, but perfect weather for thoroughbred racing. Great for the riders and for the horses.
Yeah, no doubt about that. 10 races on the card, so we're scaling back a little after a marathon, a Fountain of Youth weekend, and of course the table set, the scene is set, moving ahead to the ExpressBet.com Florida Derby on Saturday, March 30th. And I would imagine just about, or a good chunk of the number of faces on our jockey poster that we are giving out here for free on Sunday, and you've got a 45-minute window to get it autographed here in the walking ring. I'd imagine a few of the good-looking gentlemen on that poster will be riding in the Florida Derby, you would think.
You would certainly think so. We have just such a great and competitive jockey colony here at Gulfstream Park, so you can get a chance to have your poster signed on Sunday, March 10th in the walking ring, and you'll see right there in the center the one and only and always fashionable Clerk of Scales, Victor Sanchez.
Oh, he is just the coolest. To know Victor is to like and love Victor for sure. A great guy, and does a great job kind of corralling. I guess he's kind of like the den father, so to speak, with the jocks downstairs. And speaking of just the colony, we do have the return of Paco Lopez, who's been on the sidelines off a 30-day suspension. He's got has a busy afternoon, I should say. And that brings us into what are we looking most forward to on this Wednesday, March the 6th. I like that sixth race field quite a bit. I'm sure you do as well. 60 combined wins spread throughout that group. That race is just chock full of blue-collar hard hitters. Yeah,
I mean, even you look at just the likes of Dizzy Gillespie, 7-time winner, coming in off a couple of open-length wins. Just a really impressive group of horses. The once unbeatable, it seems, Starship Apollo trying to continue some good form. So excited about that one for sure. And then you talked about Cipriana. It looked like she was very precocious, had a lot of talent. She's coming in off the layoff. In fact, a couple of key layoff runners in there.
Yeah, Bodie Babe coming back for Safi. Not as long a layoff than the one Cipriana's got. She has not raced since Saratoga. Boy, I thought she'd be favored in that race in the 9. She's a pretty big 4-1 on the morning line. I don't know about that, but I think she's gonna run well this afternoon for a barn that is bound for the Florida Derby with Bourbon War. Ran great this past Saturday, and of course we've got a lot of money. I mean, it really is eye-catching, just the amount of dough, gigantic jackpot Rainbow Six carryover when you see, and that'll bring us on to our carryover situation, when you see about $850,000, and that obviously won't include and doesn't include the new money that'll be bet into the Rainbow Six today.
Oh yeah, that does start in race number 5 today with $845,000 plus in that pool just to begin. So you can imagine that'll be well over the $1 million mark this afternoon. Starts in race 5. It's earlier on this 10-race program, and then a couple of other multi-race wagers to offer you today as well.
Absolutely. That includes a couple of pick 5s, and wouldn't be a day of racing without the early pick 5 that's coming your way a little after 12:35 p.m. on this fast and firm March 6th, and you are fresh, tan, rested, and ready off the plane ride from Connecticut. What are you doing?
All right, here's my early pick 5 ticket. I'm going too deep in the first race. I thought this was a very tricky race to open things up, so this is the race I'm worried worried about I might be a little bit light. But I had a stronger opinion about these two horses, and that's who I ended up using. I'm going to go too deep in the second as well. So using two horses in the first 4 races where, to me, it looks like you have a potentially short price favorite in a couple of those races who could be vulnerable. So we'll see if we can get any sort of prices in the early part of the card. I have a long shot that I really like in the 5th in Thanks Mom for Mary Epler. So going 4 deep in that 5th race, which does also kick off today's Rainbow Six.
Sounds good. Fafa Fooey, one of 2 that you have in the 4th race. I think any Howard Stern fan, and certainly fan of the great, the one and only Baba Booey, will be happy with that horse's chances, or certainly think on the positive side that horse could be sitting on a big race, finally dipping down a little in the maiden claiming.
The first question I asked when I came in the office this morning was, hey, Jason, did you take Fafa Fooey today? So I knew you'd be all over that one.
He's a single in the 4th. You heard it here. Anyway, let's set sail with that first race with the pick 5 out of the way. And your point is, your statement, Acacia, well taken, that this first race is very tricky for an older filly mare, 20K maiden claimer. And I think one of the things that makes it so tricky, or maybe a little divisive on paper, is the fact that you really don't have. It's a field that, just for the most part, there's some horses that have run okay on the turf, like the 3 Sacrifice, who I picked, and even the 8 Anomaly, who I have in second. But the issue with them is potentially they don't have any good races per se going 5/8 on the grass.
No, they don't. That's the tough part about it. And even looking at Sacrifice, I mean, I know that this filly showed some speed last time out, and I probably should have used her in the top 4. I just didn't love how she finished up any of her recent races, and I know that she sprinted towards the start of her career. Can she recapture some of that form with the new connections? The 5 Miss Claudia was my stab in here, an exclusive quality filly who they tried to get on the turf in her debut. Looking back at my notes, I would have preferred to see her on the turf, so I'm taking just a stab there. She's got a little bit of turf pedigree on the bottom side as well, with 2 siblings that won on the grass.
Sounds good. Let's move on to the second here. Fast main track on a clear and sunny March the 6th as we go that 1-turn mile with this 2-lifetime older 6250 claimer. And the biggest, to me anyway, pre-race key going in, it's almost a two-part key. You've got a really questionable pace scenario. All right, Rumbago's pretty fast in terms of his cruising speed, but he's a turf horse. And the 6 Cactus Catch Me, I just have my questions whether he can stay showing speed, whether he can stay this trip. And the other part of it is you've got horses like the 3 Grand Red and even the horse we picked in Interlaken who can stay the mile, but just, I mean, they close from left field.
Yeah, they really do. So I hope that we do get some pace there for Interlaken. And I think that the pace really changed a bit with the scratch of Lumbumba, who was going to be part of the pace, especially on the stretch out. But I liked this horse with Chris Landeros a bit last time, and he was beaten by Mr. Chaplin, who's just been a win machine and won by 11 that day. So I don't think there's any real fault there at this level, and hopefully he gets a little bit of pace to run at.
Let's move on to the 3rd. We'll both take Interlaken in the second race for trainer Rusty Arnold as we get back on the turf with this 3-year-old filly, $20,000 maiden claimer, just boxing up 3 of the shorter priced contenders in this 3-year-old filly 20K maiden claimer, in which the horse to beat, and it might be narrow, is likely the one Secret of Life, who the question and the issue with her, it's not even a question, 9-5, 3-2, 3-5, 5-2. I mean, she's lost as the favorite quite often.
Yeah, she has. She's been a little bit of a money burner, being the favorite in her last 3 and just taking a lot of money. And she's been right there in many of those recent starts. She has some natural early speed to her as well. It's Marcus Vitali and Irad Ortiz. The last race, I know that she had some trouble early. She was a little bit rank and hard to handle. That said, even the last couple, I know she's had some trouble, but at a short price, she's awfully hard to take.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons, the key reasons that I took a shot. She won't be that much of a higher price, but this does, assuming things are in context here, this does appear a good race for the 3 Go to War, who, okay, she's been a little bit of an in-and-out filly in her 3 races to date, but I won't hold that trip to the fairgrounds on the turf course there, which could be a bit of a fickle turf course against her. Her one Gulfstream race, her only race here at Gulfstream on the turf against a better field here on opening day, was a much better effort. Her best to date, I'm going to say, maybe she likes coming back to this turf course.
That definitely could be. She's by declaration of war. She gets the blinkers on today, too, after being freshened up since January 18th. And for what it's worth, that race at Fairgrounds did produce 2 next out winners. The number's kind of low, 40 and 53, but a couple of horses came back to win.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that race is live, and certainly see that it's live. And you like the Bob the Bona claim, who's got Paco, who I bumped into the jocks room. He's ready to ride. He looks tan-rested and ready, and he's got the potential speed here. Claimed off Norm Cassie last time in Lily's Heat.
And that horse had a really tough time last time out, being with the outside post, and I thought still ran very well. So we'll see if she can work out a trip now, and I like that speed, and we'll see if she makes it a winning start for Bobby DeBona.
All right, big favorite potentially coming up in the 4th, if not so much big in short-priced odds-on territory. A horse that'll be clearly favored, I think. I don't know what the price will be, but you would imagine, because Fafa Fooey has got that good race 2 back, and for whatever reason just could not replicate it against a good Pletcher horse last time out in Last Judgment. Most people are going to think this horse is probably going to show up with an effort, I think, comparable to the one that he put forth on January 19th.
I hope so. I do wonder why. I mean, I guess off of that last race, which was a pretty poor performance, okay, it makes sense to take a drop in class. Do kind of wonder why they maybe wouldn't try special weight or state bred competition one more time with him, because he did run very, very well 2 back and was running really solidly up at Woodbine. That said, he drops in. He's definitely the horse to beat, far and above. 3rd off the layoff, we'll see if he's a little bit more forwardly placed like he was up at Woodbine. I did just take Elusive Row, who I think, looking back at the replay of that race, he did have some trouble. You're going to get a little bit of a better price in him. He's by uncaptured. I think on the main track is definitely where he wants to be.
And that'll be a spot we see Ralph Dix here on Friday. Did you look at Friday yet? Did you have a chance?
I haven't finished Friday yet,
Yeah, Ralph's got that Graceful Pro, or Princess rather, who does look like a, she was very good last time out in defeat behind Queen of Bees, and I'm wondering, she's running Friday here on a Beat the Expert Friday, prep for the Gulfstream Oaks, I think.
I would think so. That'd be exciting to see for sure.
Yeah, tap it, have the grace, as we take a little time out here on this Wednesday edition of Gulfstream Today. Back after this.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with ExpressBet. Sign up for an ExpressBet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
Just about set for a new racing week here, running Wednesday through Sunday afternoon as our wintertime season continues on at Gulfstream Park. Jason and Acacia with you on this Wednesday edition of Gulfstream Today, and just a couple of days out, a little over 48 hours away from Friday Stronach 5.
That's right. We do have $100,000 guaranteed pool once again. It starts at Laurel Park in race number 9 around 5 p.m. on Friday. And then you've got about an hour and a half worth of action there. We have 2 Gulfstream races in the mix, 10 and 11 on that day. And that low 12% takeout, definitely a big appeal. And don't forget about that nice, again, $100,000 guaranteed pool.
I want to thank everybody who's played the Stronach 5, whether it was last fall or you've played right along. We've had some gigantic pools last couple of Fridays, the carryover 2 weeks ago, but even last week, and a handsome payoff of about $4,000. And our buddy Stan Salter up in Maryland took it down with the $72 ticket. We'll hope for more of the same this coming Friday, beginning in race number 9 at Laurel Park. In the meantime, though, we're on the turf here for the opening leg in today's Jackpot Rainbow 6, $845,000 plus. And what are you doing?
All right, well, we got to take a stab at that. I do have a single this afternoon, so that helps bring the cost down a little bit. I'm using the same 4 in race number 5 that I used in the cash out of the early pick 5. In the 6th race, race going 3 deep. There's that really likable crew that Jason was talking about earlier. Just a lot of wins to their names. Really, really consistent horses running in there. In the 7th race, I'm just going to stand alone with Balaban, who broke his maiden last time out off the layoff for Jason's service. Just looks like he might meet the right field in here. Maybe you feel a little bit strongly. Can Macho Blue back up that big figure of an 82 last time out that he got to break his maiden? So I'll just stand alone there, but maybe that's a race where you start to spread a little bit more if you have a stronger opinion. Unoffensive, we'll see if he can get back to the winner's circle and stay there this time out. And then going 2 deep in the 9th using Bodie Babe and Cipriana, and 2 deep in the cash out for $28.80.
All right, there's your Rainbow Six, just under $30 as we start things out on the turf with some 3 lifetime $16,000 older filly mare claimers. And the best recent form in this race, I don't think it's debatable, happens to go to the 5 Cocktail Skirt, who was claimed off Jane Sabelli last time out by our good friend Natalie Fox, and is running back 34 days after this claim in this race back on the 31st of January.
And she was bet down 80 cents to the dollar. And as we pick it up here, we're just going to show you the stretch there. Just thought it was a very game performance from her to come up the rail. A good ride by Irad Ortiz, who's going to stick aboard today. And she was game to hold off Dixie Princess there, coming down to the wire. Again, just thought it was a big performance for her. Trilby came back to win again after that and has been in good form, but a solid race, and we'll see if she can keep the momentum going.
One inside of her, and she's a major player here who's just properly spotted. But again, you do have a big drop down whose recent form and just overall recent appearances have been a little lackluster and waning, and that's the 4 Marvelous Kitten. Hoping everything is okay today as they put her in for $16,000 in just her 2nd start since last July. You like Thanks Mom on the rail for trainer Mary Epler, who ran fine last time out.
Yeah, she did, and I think 3rd off the layoff, we're going to see the best race to date. I think Jose Ortiz is really going to fit this horse beautifully. Not that Tyler did anything wrong last time out. She did have some traffic trouble, but I think on paper some of her questionable form will make her a bit of a price, and she has the ability to be a bit more tactical from that inside post and save some ground.
Halfway home as we turn the page, race number 6 jump starts that Wednesday, late pick 5, and again that blue-collar, hard-hitting field on the main. I'm 3 deep to start, much like you. I see Jason Service. I see Irad Ortiz riding Balaban, and I said, you know what? I'm going to single that horse. We got a big time, and it's not just a current meet stat. We got a big time maiden winners returning in claimers for that barn coming your way, and it's a very high percentage. So Balaban, the single, I am 3 deep in the 8th. That is a very good 50K 2 lifetime claimer on the turf, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good race. Definitely looking forward to that one. I think that's a race that's kind of wide open, too. You could find some value.
2 deep, I use the same 2 that you like in the 9th, and Bodie Babe, who hasn't raced recently, but her layoff nowhere near as lengthy as the Mark Hennig-trained Cipriana. And I just mentioned the morning line price because, again, it's just a difference between my opinion and what she is on the line. I could be totally off base, and maybe she won't get bet as strongly as I thought she would, but I thought that race, assuming she shows up with one of her 2 good-looking races, man, I thought she could just be a slightly talented, more talented and classier than that field in the 9th. And then we've got the 2 and 3 to wrap things up with. There's just very little 5 furlong. Actually, overall form, that field doesn't have a lot going on. But again, when you start to really narrow it down, there's not many horses in there that have really done anything at 5/8 on the turf.
No, it's a tricky race to cash things out. So using a couple of horses there, I see. And, you know, that's usually how the nightcap is. It may be a little bit of a wide open affair there for the last race, but I think it's a fun one if we make it there. And I'm with you. Cipriana has a lot of the class. Can she recapture some of that? As she has been a little bit of a tricky horse from my memory. She's does tend to get maybe a little bit acting up, but I believe she gets the blinkers on today. So we'll see if she shows some more maturity this afternoon.
Yeah, Johnny V will be riding Cipriano off that lengthy layoff. Layoffs are something that don't happen too often for the most part. Say anywhere from 30 to 60 days is probably the norm for just about everybody. All the familiar faces are battling in today's 6th race, including, and we'll talk about a few here because we obviously picked the same horse, but we got to give a little love and some acknowledgement to Starship Apollo, who is hands down one of this circuit's year-round most popular claims.
Yeah, he certainly is, and I wanted to show this last race, and maybe he's got his work cut out for him today. This is on the 20th. Can he keep this good form going? Can he recapture that impressive win streak that he once had? But he's a horse that we're all big fans of. It was the non-winners have won in a year. He got the win by open lengths that day, and he's been claimed again by Kathleen O'Connell this time out. He actually has one of the highest, if not the highest, last out Beyer speed figure for this performance, getting an 83. And he's a 10-time winner, 7 times here at Gulfstream. We'll see if he can keep it going, but he's definitely one I respect.
Oh, I respect him as well. We also have tons of respect for the 3 inside horses. Charlie the Greek, who Joe Catanese has done a good job with. Dizzy Gillespie, who we both picked. And even Brown's Gap, who is, when it comes down to it, 2 turns is his thing.
That's exactly what I wrote. This is way too short for him. He wants 2 turns. I even like him, which they don't run many, but I like him. 9 furlongs, the best on the main track.
Now, Dizzy Gillespie should have no issue with the mile today, looking for that 3rd consecutive win. And here's just a quick little stat for Peter Walder. We know Peter, certainly one of the veteran trainers based year-round in South Florida, and he obviously over the years has done really well playing the claiming game. And needless to say, first off the claim in that month-and-a-half to 2-month spot does seem like a pretty good move for the barn at 9 for 37, and that with 52 days between Dizzy Gillespie's last and today's 6th race, I thought that horse just fit squarely, you know, in that time span.
Right smack dab in the middle. I like it, and definitely a horse that's been in good form. He's got to step up in class today after 2 wins at the 6250 level, but he was competitive at this level of competition way before dropping in last out.
Let's move on to the 7th race as we cut back to 5 furlongs on the turf. We've got some 2 lifetime older $30,000 to $25,000 claimers and a barn that is, I mean, just a couple of wins shy of a 50% at the meet, give or take, with nearly 70 starters to their credit. What can you say about Balaban, who was coming in off a hard-fought win last time out?
It was a hard-fought win, and that's why I wanted to show it too, because it was impressive in its tenacity. This was on January 25th. It was after a roughly 4-month layoff. It was the number 1 that day. Did beat Dynamic Dancer, who came back to win in his next start. He's also in this race. He broke his maiden in an off-the-turf race next time out by 5 lengths, but came back to win from there. And here it looks like Dynamic Dancer might even win in this spot. Balaban, though, very, very game under Irad Ortiz to get up just in time.
And you've got a horse who can pull his own luck and trip with that good stalking speed that he has, or stalking gear where he lays up close and pounces. And you've also got a barn that not only is batting close to 50% here on March the 6th with the meet that began back in December, on December 1st, in fact, you've got a barn that's done really well for themselves just in the claiming ranks with maiden winners last out, and that is what Balaban is doing right down the middle, 18 for 47 for nearly 40%. The numbers are very, very imposing. If, Acacia, you opted to use another horse and you didn't single Balaban, who's the danger?
Well, for me, I thought it was going to be the number 3 Thorpe Doro. I respect Shanghai Noon and Macho Blues, the big wild card, I think, in this race. I took Thorpe Doro just because this horse getting back to the turf, his turf race 2 starts back, I thought was very, very good. And he does have Jose Ortiz today. But Macho Blue with that 82 Beyer speed figure is going to get some attention no matter what.
Well, he's got the big speed, and he got that great ride from Marcos Meneses.
Beautiful ride,
and if memory serves, this horse may have been the only single jackpot horse alive into the finale.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I think he was.
And Marcos rode the horse great. Race came up fast. Wild card indeed there towards the outside in race number 7. 8th, meanwhile, we're on the turf. Good race coming up. 2 lifetime older claimers. I think Trip is really going to be, you know, it's tough to quantify here when you're talking about the race a few hours ahead of time, but you're going to need to get a little lucky in terms of just race flow and having an unencumbered Trip. Now, what's the deal here with unoffensive? I know we're taking...
You didn't use him at all.
I didn't use unoffensive at all. I just, with Pletcher running this horse first time out for a quarter, I know he held together nicely and was DQ'd off a tough win last time out. I want to just see it again as he goes up for 50.
Yeah, that's absolutely valid, but I do like that Luis Saez stays. He's ridden him now in now all 3 of his starts, and he technically crossed the wire first last out, and we just wanted to show this race just to explain why it was that he was disqualified, and clearly it's some greenness too. It's definitely, you know, a horse that only had 1 start to his name so far. Here he just drifts out and bumps into another foe going left-handed, came back, corrected himself, but it was a disqualification that day, but he's got some speed. He's had had 2 good races so far. Yes, I don't love that he was 300,000 and debuted 420. We never like that, but I like that he was able to hold his own last time out. That said, I still think I think Victor Lounge, who does come out of that same race, but expect him now second off the claim for Mike Maker. We're going to see a little bit of a stronger effort from him. He is not a horse that wants to be that far back.
No, you'd love to see him even closer up and in the game. And in terms of pace, Unoffensive has speed. You're likely going to see some speed from Wetumka, who's got Miguel Vasquez. It'll be a bigger priced horse, so they could be motoring in this race, and Victor Lounge could get up in that first flight. And I think in terms of just trip, drawing the race up, Moji on the rail I thought would pull a good one beneath Tyler for Mark Cassie. I know he was beating almost 5 on the turf. I really like that starter 50 that he comes out of, won by C Major, and especially with the always tough Coolin Rock running second.
Yeah, it was a very good race. Race 2 starts back was very good, too. I think Too Much Dad is a talented horse for Jorge Duarte. And I do think that just the company he's been keeping lately definitely sets him apart. He's shown speed, too, but from the inside, you have to imagine he could get a nice ground-saving trip.
All right, deep in home stretch we go. Race number 9 of 10 not only begins the late double, it's our last dirt race. Older fillies and mares on the main here going 6.5 furlongs. And again, you and I very bullish on Bodie Babe, who's been a little star-crossed and has been a Jekyll and Hyde type filly, and that might really sum up the star-crossed career thus far for Cipriano, who won here and was bet and ran giant first time out back in January of 18. She's got that good second at Belmont in late June and then just kind of fell apart after that. I don't see Mark Hennig not only bringing her back, but giving Johnny V a leg up. If he didn't feel, and she's based here, didn't feel as though we were going to get the good version of Cipriano.
Oh, absolutely. And as I mentioned, she's a very tricky horse. Just remembering her last year being saddled on the horse path, just being a bit distracted before the race. She does get the blinkers on coming in off the layoff, and sometimes it just takes time, especially for fillies. She's now a 4-year-old. We might see a lot more maturity from her as well, which really could be the basis of it all. Blinkers on as well, perhaps for a little bit more focus. But I'm in agreement with you, seeing John Velasquez take the call. I did take Bodie Babe. Clearly, turf not the name of her game. She gets back to the main track. She's just kept some good company, too. She has speed. I know that her allowance race 2 starts back. She finished up very poorly. But then there clearly maybe were some issues along the way. They tried the grass, then gave her time. So just thinking this is kind of go time for her as well.
All right, Team Bodemeister for the gang there for you and I in the ninth race.
Bodemeister, exacta.
Yeah, you got that right. And we'll see. Sworn Silence, and again, I may have just mishandicapped the race. Favored on the line at 2-1. I really, and you could tell, didn't really consider this filly one of the biggest players in the race. She's been more of an out-of-town claiming horse at her best, and I just like Mike Tomlinson a lot. I see Brad Cox previously trained by, and it gives me some trepidation.
And this is a filly that she's just been a bit of a money burner. Her last couple of starts, she's been a short price favorite, and she's been very well beaten on both surfaces. She's coming in off the layoff as well, so we might see some improvement from her given some time. But at a short price, I thought there were a couple other stronger ones.
All right, race 10, meanwhile, not an easy way to end this Wednesday, March 6th. You just don't have a lot of overall form, be it on the turf or even, again, really getting specific at a very niche-like 5 furlong distance as we cap the day with some 3-year-old filly, 25K maiden claimers. The Arad Cassie horse going to take a lot of beating in there, right?
What's her name?
Was Coca Susie, right?
I think that's how you say it.
I was going to say she's got to be an Ontario bred, and sure enough, she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the turf race against a good field last time out. She had a little bit of trouble, but she takes a turn back in distance, and I think we're just kind of both hanging our hat on the connections in here. I thought, if anything, this could be a race where a firster could shake things up. So Big Brown Sugar to the outside by Beauchois, and a turf sibling that was a 2-time turf winner.
Trained by a good guy who did well with his young, lightly raced horses here last summer in Michael Yates.
That's right.
And we do like those horses by Beauchois, the few that are floating around, including What a Beaut, who's running here on the dirt tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, they're going to try her on the dirt.
Sprinting, too.
Yes, turning back, and I think one of 2 in the race, late in the Thursday card for trainer Mark Cassie, who sees action today. In fact, like our man upstairs, who's with us right now on the set. He's coming your way, Pete Aiello, with those Wednesday scratches and changes.
What do all these top races have in common? They were all won by Gulfstream grads. The Fasig-Tipton Gulfstream sale. Selected 2-year-olds in training March 27th. Where will you be?